Hey, everybody, it's Chris Elmore with another edition of the Service Contractor Radio Show, brought to you by Service Excellence Training, where we turn learning into earning. This week on the podcast, we have none other than the one and only, broke the mold when he was born, Todd Liles. And we're going to be talking about New Year's resolutions. Stay tuned. Todd, what's up?
Hey, Chris, what's going on, buddy?
You know, when you call me Chris, it's kind of like my mom.
Like I should call you Elmore instead.
Or, yeah, you should call me Elmore. I'm so used to it here now. It's like with my wife, if she doesn't call me babe or honey and she calls me by my name, it's either something super serious or I'm in trouble, which is usually pretty serious too. So,
yeah.
So it's just weird because you always call me Elmore or hey, man.
When when Shannon calls me Todd, I'm in trouble. But it doesn't just come out like Todd. It comes out like Todd.
Well,
like,
there it is. Some extra emotion in it. That's the way it is. But anyway, so why don't we start by, we're going to get to New Year's resolutions, but Christmas comes before New Year's. What are you doing for Christmas this year?
We're going to stay here through the official Christmas time. I don't know what we're doing New Year's Eve. I don't think we're going anywhere New Year's Eve. But Christmas morning, we're going to open presents, and then for lunch, we're going to have our Austin family over. And we're going to cook them dinner and all that good stuff and let the kids hang out with the grandparents and the aunt and the uncle. And then towards that weekend, we're going to go to Mississippi to see my dad and my little sisters. Actually, just my little sister. One little sister is still got about 2 months left on her Peace Corps tour. I put the P at the end of tour there, but my big sister will be there, and tons of nieces and nephews, and my mom, my stepmom. She's my mom, the only one I got at this point, though, right? So we're just gonna be hanging out in Mississippi with some family. What are you guys doing?
Nothing. We're staying here,
which is what I like.
Yeah.
Now, here's a more important question, Chris. What are you buying Laura?
You know, we've got this thing in recent years. It's there's the memes that come up on Facebook and stuff like that about, my wife. It'll say, my wife, : let's not do Christmas presents this year. Me, okay, Christmas Day, my wife. You didn't get me any presents.
Yes.
That's what's going to happen. So I don't know. I'll probably get her. She's giving me a few things she wants. But, we're 26 years married this year, 27 in May. And, this is the kind of, you start to get married this long, you start naming stars after people and making donations in their name. Because there's not much else you can do. But I don't know. I'll figure something out. But I can't say it here, Todd, because she listens to the podcast.
Yeah, but this will probably come out after Christmas.
Well, she likes to listen to the uncut versions of it.
Oh, does she?
So that's cool. Only because I listen to them and she's in the other room and hears them.
Gotcha. Well, Shannon knows what she's getting, so I'm going to say it here anyway. But she's not getting it Christmas Day. We do one really big project in the home every year. That's kind of like what we do.
Wait a minute, you guys just redid your kitchen.
I know. So this isn't going to happen until 2020, but it's going to happen like January. This year we redid the kitchens. We got new appliances. We didn't do cabinets and stuff.
Well, yeah.
But she's been wanting a really nice outside fire pit with like a concrete patio, which cracks me up because she's got asthma and I don't think she'll ever step foot into the grass. We've had that conversation, but she wants it anyway. And I'm like, I'll get that for you, but that's going to be more for like Todd and his buddies on the weekend when they all want a beer and want to sit under the stars. But that's what we're doing. We're going to do it after Christmas, though.
That's okay.
I'm fine with it.
That's okay. Hey, I want to take real quick, and I want to shout out to Jack at Arnold Electric. Got these in the mail the other day, a couple of branded Yetis.
Nice.
From Jack. So thanks, Jack.
Yeah, this podcast will end up being one of our kind of like featured materials too on our new community that we're building. By the way, thank you for everyone that listens, but we are building a new community just for folks that do business with us. It's going to be a private place, but I bring that up because I want to make sure we get Jack on as a member highlight, where we highlight the members and spend 15 or so minutes
we will.
about their business.
Yeah, people are still curious about Jack because of the podcast and those kind of things. And And incidentally, Jack will be in town in 2 weeks, and we're going to record something on that. So you guys will
Cool.
get to hear an update on Jack, and we'll have a member profile for the new community. Stay tuned on that.
So how about I just send you the list of questions that I'm using, and you can use them or
Sure.
not use them.
Yep.
Be awesome, man.
All right, let's talk about New Year's resolutions.
Let's do that. Because I think New Year's resolutions are great for energizing people.
Mm-hmm.
And I think they're exciting to think about, and I think they're a lot of fun.
I think they're
But
great.
I don't
They're
think
great mantras.
They're mantras, yeah. And I think they're a great stepping point. But I think that most New Year resolutions don't really work. I think most of them typically fail. And and that's what I want to make sure that our listeners can avoid. I want them to set some resolutions that end up taking life and become goals.
Mm-hmm.
So let me share with you. I looked up the Google definition of resolution, which is super easy for everybody to do. You just type resolution definition and goal definition. This is going to come up. So here's what Google said about a resolution. It said it's a firm decision to do or not do something, period. It's pretty easy. Then when you look up the words underneath it that it says it's similarly connected to, this is where I really think it comes down to. It says it's intent, intention, or aspiration, which these are all like what I wanted to do type statements, right? This is what I wanted to do type words. If we drop down and look up the Google definition of goal.
Well, hold on. There's more. Hold on just a second.
Oh, did
what
you
I like about that, yeah, I Googled it. I'm doing like the Joe Rogan thing where I got my computer.
Do it, man.
I don't have a production assistant, but if anybody wants to volunteer their time free or wants to be a production assistant and bring a sponsor that will pay your salary,
we would love for you to work for us for free. That would be great.
But it's, you said intent and aspiration. It says aim, purpose, object, pledge, promise, undertaking, all that stuff. And I think a lot of times resolutions in our owner series class, we talk about the BHAG, and we didn't invent that.
No,
it's been in many books, but we talk about the BHAG and how, when we go around that room, we want people to articulate that, write it down. And a resolution to me is kind of like where we start. Sometimes people start with that is it's more of a bucket list. And a bucket
That's a good way to think about it.
A bucket list item, and resolutions are just part of that, I think. And bucket lists happen maybe at New Year's more than ever. But I think people put things as a resolution just so they can have something to talk about. They're at a New Year's party. Yeah, my resolution this year is to do this. Oh, yeah, that's mine too. I'm going to take that one too.
Yeah. And that's a big part of the problem, though. What you just said there is something for them to talk about. There's a very deep psychological principle that studies satisfaction of accomplishment. And what they have found is that the joy of talking about what you're going to do, or the joy of talking about the resolution, is about equal to the reality of accomplishing it for most people. And in fact, for those of you that have ever accomplished a really big goal, you know that immediately afterwards, there's actually even a little bit of depression that's associated with it, which is another psychological principle that we won't jump into right now. But the essence of what that means is that if we're getting our dopamine release when we proclaim to the world what we're going to do, and we don't actually have to do it, by the way, thus the problem with social media, and thus the problem with people that are being unproductive, is that a lot of times people make the resolution, they feel good, that's all they really wanted to do, and they don't change their life. So I'm not poo-pooing on the good feelings that come from a resolution.
It's good motivation.
But at the end of the day, let's not even say the end of the day, because that implies at the end of our life. Scratch that. At the end of the year, you actually want to see some change having occurred, which is why I think that resolutions can be dangerous.
I think so too. And I think what happens at the end of the year too is it's like a catch-22 is you create some resolutions, say this year, you get to the end of the year and you haven't hit them. We can't say that's my resolution again. You got to have something new. It's got to be new and shiny, right? So
every year, my resolution is to lose weight.
Yeah, I mean, it's got to be something different, or there was a reason you didn't hit it, so you move on to something new, and you don't have to talk about it not hitting it, so you just come up with something new.
Right. So let me give you 3 things I'd like to consider to be the problems of resolution. Then I
Go
think we're
for
going
it.
to jump to goals. So here's my first issue with resolution is that it's rooted in emotion. That's not the bad part, but it's typically rooted in emotion with no plan. Number 2 is it's the emotion that it's typically rooted in are the negative emotions. It's fear, anger, embarrassment.
Mm-hmm.
And then the third thing is that I actually wrote down short-sighted, but I meant short-sighted in the sense of you can't see past the initial thing, but probably it's even better to say it's also too long-sighted because you're giving yourself 365 days to accomplish it as opposed to breaking it down.
Mm-hmm.
Let me share one thing with you which I also think is interesting. I'm 40. I'll be 41 next year. Not this year.
Getting so old, Todd.
I'm getting old. Not this year, Chris, but the year prior to this, I had written down goals, not a resolution, but goals to have a 500-pound squat, a 500-pound deadlift, a 300-pound bench. I wanted to have that 1,300-pound number. I didn't accomplish it last year. I ended up having some setback injuries, right?
Been there, done that.
Yeah, me too, right? But I still had a plan. So even though I got to the end of the year, I didn't feel like, I stink. Well, I can tell you that this year, all of those have been checked off the list and plus. I didn't quit. It took 2 years, but I'm repping those weights. But it took 2 years.
Mm-hmm.
If it was just a resolution without a plan, it would have fallen apart.
Right. Well, I think that's the key is that plan, because I think what goes with plan is some form of tracking.
Yes.
And I know you pretty good behind the scenes, and I know you write a lot of stuff down that people don't realize you write down.
Right.
By the way, that's a word to anybody who ever deals with Todd. If you said it, he probably wrote it down.
And if I didn't write it down, then you can get away with murder because I won't remember.
That's exactly right. So it's got like a two-edged sword. But what I like about that example and the weightlifting, and I did the same thing, but it was the other stuff, clean and jerk, snatch, and all those kind of things. And I hurt my knee, and that's just kind of been a struggle for the last year. But along the way, you set benchmarks. And if the benchmark is the end of the year and you want to hit those numbers in weight, you're constantly working towards that. And let's face it, weightlifting is the kind of the ultimate tracking thing. I mean, that's what it's about, a number, right?
Yeah.
And so there's no subjectivity to it. It doesn't change in terms of the resolution. Maybe I want to look good at the beach. Well, that can change what looks good, right?
Right.
But if you're saying I want to do this 500 pounds, the only way to get that is say, well, this is what I can do now. How am I going to get there? You map it out and, you work off percentages. And I know you had a good plan for that. And then you get there and you start tracking. And what happens at the end of the year, let's say you're at 480. What you can say is, I started at 450. I've added 30 pounds to my totals. I'm over halfway there, but I got to keep going. So there's power in looking back to see the progress, even if you don't hit it by the end of the year.
That's right. I'll tell you, for a lot of years when I was in the gym, and I've been doing this a long time, but it's like whatever we do in life. I came out of college and my goals were to get strong. And I started getting strong. I also started getting fat because I started eating, because there is a direct correlation with how much you weigh and how much you can lift.
That's exactly right. Well, and that too is the more activity you're putting your body through. I've never been hungrier in my life than when I'm working out every day and hitting the weights. And something about weightlifting just makes you ravenously hungry all the time. And you got to watch that, because that's why a lot of those strong men are so big, right? They're so strong, but some of them you're like, man, that dude's fat, but he can lift a house. And it's just because your appetite runs wild.
Yeah, well, it's exactly. So for me, the adding tracking of not only what I was hoping to lift, but adding tracking to my nutrition. And I'm late to the game in nutrition tracking. I've probably only been doing that for 2 years, but that's a game changer, because it helps me maintain a decent body composition and size while I'm still pursuing other goals. And, in some ways, what it's kind of like in business, it's kind of like going after your sales and your revenue, and you really want to start closing huge average tickets, and you want to start converting closing percentages, but not also tracking your customer satisfaction or your net promoter score. You might increase all those things, but you might do it at the risk of your business health.
Mm-hmm.
So when you start tracking both, you end up finding out that you actually can get what you want. You can be strong and you can not be fat. You can be a great company that closes and produces great average tickets, and also have customers that really love you because you're
great reputation,
which is to say ethical, right?
Yeah, absolutely. You can be a company with a high closing rate with great reviews.
Yes, you can be both,
Mm-hmm.
but you have to be intentional about saying, I'm going to measure all of these things. So that's kind of the gig, right? Resolutions, again, aren't problems. They're great starting points,
Mm-hmm.
which means I think we should set goals, and, let's give it to Zig. And I think Zig was actually the first person to get credit for the SMART acronym. I read something that acronym actually came out of like a Forbes article in the 60s. I don't even think that Zig was responsible for, and don't quote me on that. But that SMART acronym, if you guys have never heard it, it's how you develop really good goals. It's specific, which means you can clearly identify it. You know if it's specific enough, if there are things about it that you can measure, right? Pretty straightforward.
Mm-hmm.
The A stands for actions that you can take. The R, different people have different takes on this. I think Zig used to say realistic. Michael Hyatt likes to push it and say go risky. So he likes to say go a little bit more than what you thought you could. So you be somewhere between realistic and risky. Don't go into delusional, and don't sandbag yourself is the real guide there. Kind of treat those like boundaries. And then the T is you time bound it. So you're going to do it within a certain time frame. I know that people have added S's to it. I've certainly done it before,
Mm-hmm.
where we say shared.
Shared, yep.
Yeah. So people kind of mix it up, but that is a really good framework for setting goals. Is a SMART framework.
I have some more information for you.
Let's hear it.
So, according to the all-knowing and all-powerful Wikipedia,
right? Who came up with it first?
The November 1981 issue of Management Review magazine contained a paper by George T. Doran called "There's a Smart Way to Write Management's Goals and Objectives," and his breakdown of that was specific, measurable, assignable. Which means specify who will do it.
Sure.
Realistic, and time related. So it's very similar.
Yeah.
So, but I like the shared part too for this reason. And I know you've said it several times, and I don't remember, and I could Google it too, but who it was that said it's something like a goal that's not written down is just an idea or something like that or whatever.
A lot of people have said that, but I think the person I like most to quote, because I think he's awesome, is Dave Ramsey.
Mm-hmm.
He talks about that a lot, where it's like a goal without a written plan is just a dream.
Exactly. That's what I was going for. And probably I listened to his podcast, so I probably heard it from him.
Yeah, and dreams aren't a bad thing. They give us inspiration, but we got to bring them down into reality. We got to put them on paper.
Right. And so that's one of the things we do in our owner series as well, is when we go through our BHAG and we start talking about how we take that dream and turn it into everyday reality, is because that's one of the things I think you have to do as well, is whatever the resolution and goal is, you got to plan it out and everything and say, what's the activity every day to get there? Mm-hmm. And even if it's a 20-year goal or a 30-year goal, what am I going to do tomorrow or today to make it to tomorrow and be 2 days closer or a day closer to that target? But in our owner series class, that's another thing that we do, is we have people write down their goal, because what I found is a real common problem that business owners face is that there's nobody that went into business just to go into business. There's nobody that went into business just because they like the work and they want to give people jobs. Now, that's a benefit of it, is you like the work and you have an extended family of employees that you take care of. That's all great. But I think the big thing is whatever it was that, or it is that gets you out of bed every day, whatever the goal is, that has to be articulated and written down. And that's one of the things that we do, because we want, and we'll even ask people to share it, to go back to the shared part. Because I think the shared to me means that at very least it comes out of your head, gets on paper.
Yeah.
Even if you don't speak it to someone else, or they don't ever read it or whatever. And that's where the power comes in, and that's where it seems to be more real.
There's also a real what's the word I'm looking for? There's a real potential challenge with sharing goals.
Okay.
And I'm going to give you a insight perspective from my position. And for those of you that have been here before, you'll know it, right? Sometimes you'll come up with a goal. You figure out a goal and you go, this is something that's really important, something that will benefit myself or my family or my company or all. You map your plans out and you get super stoked, excited about it. There are actually few people in our life that are here for the purpose of, cheerleading. And in business, if you're surrounded yourself with nothing but cheerleaders, that probably means that you're going to be over encouraged and you're going to do some really stupid stuff. Because you don't need to have nothing but cheerleaders on your team. You need to have a balance of people
that have some doers
cheer you, but and then you can also tell you, hey, not good. So if you're an entrepreneur and you've surrounded yourself with people like that, and I feel like I've surrounded myself with teammates that are critical thinkers. I think they don't have a fear of telling me what they think. And guys, I'll just tell you, sometimes I'll come up with an idea and I'm super excited about it, and they're not excited about it at all because it may look like more work to them. And sometimes they're not excited about it because they think it'll fail, and sometimes they're right. And it's good. It's good to kind of catch that. But what I'll tell you also as an entrepreneur is that sometimes, even in the face of opposition, and this, I found this myself to be the case even with my great team. The opposition on my team isn't negative. They're not doing it to be negative, but sometimes they're giving opposition. And the tough choice that you have to make as someone that owns your company is, even in the face of opposition from people that care about you, do you push through? And I think that in essence is kind of one of the core natures of business in general, which is, can you push through opposition? Can you push through obstacles? And if you can, then you will most likely successful if your reason is really, really solid. You got to have a really strong reason. And it may take time for the people around you to go, oh, I get what he's doing, or I get what she's doing. So don't give up on goals that are worth fighting for. Also, little bonus note, one of the things I like to add about goals too is, if you treat your next goal in January as a 90-day goal, don't treat it like a 365-day goal. Treat it like a 90-day goal. And you pour a year worth of action into 90 days. If it was a bad idea, you will only have lost 3 months and you can move on. If it was a good idea, you were a year ahead of a great idea, and it's probably starting to take on life sooner rather than later.
Right.
Which means do less in the first quarter of 2020, but do it more effectively. 3, no more than 5 things, but I challenge you to only do 3 things big in 2020 in quarter 1.
I like it. So let me ask you something, Todd. What are your New Year's resolutions?
I have no New Year's resolutions, but I have first quarter goals. And of course, I've already got them written down.
I know you do.
You want me to go over them?
Sure. Whatever you want to do.
All right. I'm gonna give you the highlights. There's 6 of them here, and some of them are actually yours.
Can you do it in like 3 minutes?
I could do it in less than that. Number 1, we're going to launch a brand new community exclusively for people that actually do business with us. Thank you to all that listen, that are thinking about doing business with us. When you do, you're going to get access to what we're calling the Service Excellence Community. Real live training, real live exclusive content. That's happening. Number two, we're going to pick our learning management system and we're going to launch it in Q1. Woo!
So just to be specific, that means online content that you can consume and do interact.
Yeah,
with
that
at your own pace.
that means a portal for our clients that are doing business with us to where they log into one place and everything is consolidated. And also the ability to track results is going to be a key critical component of this LMS. So when you're training with us week to week, you'll be able to see test scores, but more importantly, the managers at your company will be able to go in and log in the KPIs. So we can attach day one training to technician one, and on day 90, look at real life progress. Number three, achieve revenue goals by division and classes. That's an internal company goal. That's shared amongst all of us. Number four is establish our close set of partners that we want to partner with that provide services to contractors. That's number five is to finalize what we refer to as our system and business models. That's a Chris project. And then number six is launch what we call our owners monthly meeting. And the good news is that owner monthly meeting is actually going to happen inside of our service excellence community. And that's already, we already got the first one planned, and it's going to be on this topic. It's going to be on goals and freedom. And that's going to be open to all of our business owners. And that first one of those is Thursday, the 9th.
January 9th. Yep.
Yeah. January 9th at, I believe, 2 o'clock or so, but we'll get that out there. There you go. I got them, man.
You did it.
I'm already working on them. I'm ahead of the schedule.
So what we'd like to hear from you guys about is what kind of goals do you have for 2020? How can we help with those? Let's just have a conversation. A lot of times when we talk, we say, oh, well, give us a call and this, that, and the other. And you might think you're going to get trapped in some sort of conversation about doing business with us. And really what I think I can speak for everybody that works for us, Todd, is that we're passionate about helping. And here's what we realize. There's not many secrets left in the trades, is there? There's not many things that, oh, this is a silver bullet and we got to protect this and all that kind of stuff. Because what we know is it comes down to execution.
Yeah.
Right. And we'd love to share ideas with you. So if you want to talk more about this or any other topics, as always, you can get a hold of me, 254-733-7109, or Elmore, ELMORE, at servextra.com, which is SERVEXTRA.com. That's our website. Todd, how can they get a hold of you?
Todd, TODD, at servextra.com. So
spelled the same way.
Touch with me.
And just a reminder, hey, we've only got a few seats left for our sales and our tech classes. They're filling up. They always fill up before the holidays. Our next session is January 20th through 22nd in Austin. That's the tech series. And there's a couple of things we got to do on every podcast, which is this, but we got to talk about Terry Barrett. I seen it. T-Bear, one of the best people I know.
All day long, he's seen it.
He seen it. And if you want to see Terry Barrett,
he seen it in the future that Auburn was going to beat Alabama.
So if you want to see Terry Barrett, if you want to hear him talk, number one. Number two, if you want to see him throw a bucket full of pins at a wall, you got to be at the Tech Series, January 22nd. Now, at the same time, our superstar sales trainer, Chris Loudermilk, who is usually my partner in the podcast, as you guys well know, January 20 through 22nd, Austin, he's doing the sales series. Only a few seats remain on that. Get signed up if you want to have your people there. Immediately following that, the same week, January 23rd through the 24th, is our CSR series. That is taught by Christopher Kalen Loudermilk's lovely wife, Brandy Michelle Loudermilk.
She's great.
She's great. I mean,
she's not the better half. She's like 75% of what's good.
Yeah, there's not a half there. That's way more than a half. That's January 23rd and 24th. And then the Manager Series by yours truly is happening at the same time.
And I'll pop in there for a session or two too, Chris.
But we want them to come, Todd.
Okay, never mind. I'll stay away.
Anyway, everyone, thank you for listening. I got a shout out again, as always, to Jesse Olson and my boys at the Happy Outlet. I do that every episode for some reason now. Anyway, thank you guys. Appreciate everyone. And when you're listening to this, Todd, will it be before New Year's or after New Year's?
I think it'll be after New Year's.
After New Year's. So the holiday season is come and gone. We hoped you had a great, blessed holiday season, and we look forward to talking to you. Todd, you get the last word today because I'm going to ask you a question.
Thank you, everyone. Have a Merry Christmas, and God bless everyone. I'm trying to do my Tiny Tim impression.
No. Here, I got to ask you a question.
All
Todd,
right.
What do we do at Service Excellence Training?
I don't know. No, I'm just kidding. We turn learning into earning.
Happy holidays, everybody.